Welcome to Calling All Growers. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and tonight you're learning from the best growers in the game in our Calling All Growers workshop. This is the hands-on workshop where you learn directly from the gods of the game. As you know, growers are the superstars of our industry, and there's nothing more valuable than to get one-on-one time with them. Tonight, we're so lucky to have an award-winning cultivator sharing his knowledge and wisdom from years of experience. You might remember this grower from our live show 2 weeks ago. He dropped so much knowledge and backwoods cultivation wisdom that you know we had to bring him back to teach us how he does it. Representing the OG legacy market, welcome back, breeder OG Greg.
The seeds, get a good seed quality stock and get paper towels, clear glass, saran wrap. You don't have to worry about keeping it in the dark or anything. Always keep it in your light cycle for veg all the way through cloning, seeds, all that. So that take care of all that. You only need water, maybe a little bit of hydrogen peroxide to keep everything sterile while you're popping your seeds. But that's the first step to the seeds, and it should be pretty easy to accomplish that. You just cut the belly button off the end of your seed, and that'll help it to pop faster. And instead of waiting weeks, you should be up and running within 7 days with all your seeds.
Okay, so you're talking 7 days. So we get our seeds home, maybe some of these seeds that we spent a lot of money on, and we cut the belly button off of those seeds fearlessly. Yes. We cut the belly button off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't even worry about it. It's going to work so well. You'll be glad you did it.
Do you hydrogen peroxide before the belly button surgery or after?
Hydrogen peroxide?
Before or after you cut the belly button off?
With the hydrogen peroxide?
Yes.
Yeah, basically just pour it in the bowl, straight hydrogen peroxide, rinse it around, dump it out. I got well water, so I use my sink water and just rinse it. And that's usually enough to get it real wet at the bottom. You don't want to get it over soaked. And so you put your seeds on top of there and you just spray a little bit more, spray the plastic, cover your container. I always like to keep it clear so I can see inside of it, whether it's cloning. I want to see the roots and how they're reacting.
Right.
And hydrogen peroxide really makes the roots so white, make them look white and healthy. And you can tell it's useful to use when you're germinating your seeds.
I love that. But aren't your seeds, so you keep your seeds in a paper towel though? They're like in their little cocoon.
Right. They're in there. Plus they're getting that extra humidity. And that's where the principle of cloning comes right with it. You do the same thing with your plants. You don't need no chemicals, nothing on it. Just water and sweating it in there will be just fine to do it. I'm sure it's going to upset the cloning industry, but we need to take a lot of that waste from cloning. These materials they're using are unnecessary with it because cloning is very simple use with plain water.
Right. So tell me what materials are being used right now that you think are unnecessary? That might surprise some people.
Well, the drain off, the waste that comes from these products, and where do they always end up? In the rivers eventually, and we wind up drinking. The same as a lot of these things, they eventually end up in our water system. So what's wrong with using water to clone all your marijuana plants? There's no use to put anything on it. This fast way to do it. I've had nearly 100% success rate with anything. It'll bring back dried out dead plants. If it ain't have roots on it yet, you ain't had time to clone. You're out there cutting, you put it in your container. Everyone does this. They're like, oh, I'll see if that'll work. Well, don't worry if it don't work. When you do get the time to come get it, you can put it in a little white bucket, little plastic cups, drop it straight in there, get it a little moist, drop it straight in there, your new cutting, or the old, whatever it looks like, and then spray the inside of the little white bucket about that big, depending on the size of your clone. You always have to go with that. And then spray the saran wrap up top with the water and cover it, the bucket, with that clone in there. Rubber band it, string on top, and then just set it in like in a lighter area of the dark of your light room. That way it won't get too much light on it and stuff. It really won't hurt it, but it just makes you feel better knowing that let it take it easy coming into its new root zone. And that's the best way to clone. It'll save anything you got when you think you're having trouble with it. Just it don't look good. Chop off what is good and go right with the stick it in the cup, start all over again, and it should. It works great. Saves money. It no nutrient or no no really no nutrients, no cloning materials needed. So why mess around with all that stuff? Sorry, I'm having a hard time gathering my thoughts with the weed I smoke.
No,
It's a
no,
bit
I
of
get
a
it. No, I
but
totally
yeah, let's
understand. I hear what you're saying. It could be confusing to a lot of people because there is so much other stuff. There are those, cloning solutions, and it feels like there's more products on the shelves today than ever. And so to hear you say that just use water, I'm sure a lot of folks out there, a lot of cultivators would be, shocked to hear that, and also maybe scared to do that. Now, is there anything specific about the water that cultivators should be mindful of as far as, pH is concerned, or,
I think it's all smoke and mirrors because marijuana is so easy to grow. It don't need much for it to take off.
Mhm.
I like to use the minimal, like alfalfa meal, crab meal. Those are some of the things that I use and incorporate and grow in here. I tried a new product, Back to the Roots, this year, and it's doing an amazing job. Hawaiian haze, or no, this is the regular Hawaiian here. I was going to grow a little bit longer, but someone said, "Hey, I need a breeding project done. Would you?" So I just gave it its Back to the Roots, all purpose, So I went ahead and threw some edible with it too. It's just a slightly darker green on it, just so slightly. So
Yeah.
even doubling it up didn't hurt it. So that tells me a lot about the product. So I do highly recommend it at this point.
And we're talking about Back to the Roots is the product
Yeah,
we're
Back to the
talking
Roots.
about.
It's a natural. It's probably organic plant food. You can probably get it at
Yep.
Walmart. A lot of the things I'm teaching right now are how you can go in the store and get something. At
Yes.
first, I was recommending peat, Pro Mix, but I'm used to growing in the soil. Soil, you need nothing in soil but worm manure and keep it fluffy year round. Any soil you can grow in. So the absurdity of going out and buying all these things is unnecessary. You can make deals with river bottom soil like farmers that's got that sandy loam. We all want sandy loam to grow in. The best
Hmm.
way to achieve that is in the dirt. So years of using manure only is going to work great to grow plants. Keep it aerated constantly, water it out wide. You should have no problem.
Whoa. Feels like you just dropped like 4 or 5 like really, really important points there. Now, did you say growing manure only? So using manure as a fertilizer only, or manure as the as the
Well, you can grow
growing medium?
right. You can grow straight out of worm manure 100%. A lot of people are just cutting slits in the bag and growing their stuff right in it, which is
What?
fine to do. But
And you're talking about worm casings?
I like to grow in regular soil. My whole life, I've always done it. Now that I've come to these Pro Mix blends, I'm finding out that actually what I'm doing is destroying the planet by using peat because it stores carbon. And as we buy it up, that means it's being released into the atmosphere. So because I'm buying the peat here now, since legalization says, oh, put it in this room. So or you got to have it caged outside,
Mhm.
so if you ain't got the money, you're going to automatically put it in your room, do the best. So you reach for these bags types. And
Mhm.
what they do is because of the carbon release, it's about as much carbon as America releases from driving cars. So
What?
we're going to have to pick a different source other than peat. And they ain't
Wow.
nothing better than the soil because you just amend it with worm manure. That's all you do.
Hmm. Okay, I like that. A PSA to move away from peat. That's really shocking to hear about the carbon
It's sad,
emissions.
because we're all being fooled into buying it, thinking we're, doing the right thing, but we're not actually. So
Right,
you got to
right.
question companies like Walmart that push it down our throat. They're
Yeah,
quick to point at us over cars and the little things we do, but I think the finger needs to go back at all the companies selling this peat and putting into
yeah.
it.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, yeah. Let's follow the money trail, right?
Right.
and
Right.
ask why we're turning away from nature or why we're overcomplicating something that's been,
Yeah, we're
you know, grown
overcomplicating.
pretty successfully for thousands of years. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So I just want to remind everyone watching right now that the chat room is open. So if you have any questions for Breeder Greg OG, don't hesitate to put those in the chat room. And Dan, I think our trusty sidekick, will let us know when there's a question in the chat room for you. But I know that you shared a video with us that you took about cloning, and I would love to show the folks at home this video. So if you don't mind, Dan, let's roll that beautiful cloning footage.
All right, let's learn cloning. You'll need an X-Acto knife, hydrogen peroxide. Pour it over X-Acto knife. Don't count the first set at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. That's this one right here, and you want to cut it at an angle. You don't want to use scissors or anything that's going to squeeze it. Now you got a nice clean cut at your angle, plenty of room, and right there, set it in water until you can get it to your bucket. And I'll show you what to do next. All right, we went outside, got the plant here, you see that. My cup, put this here. Just gotta get my cup a little bit. I just pour it down one side, let it go down on it. Down the other side. Don't be slow about it. And just a little bit in the center that goes like straight down to the bottom. That'll be all it needs. Take this, pull it out, put it right in the dirt. Just put it right in the dirt. Don't worry about clipping anything. Push it down in there. Set it down in a container that'll support the width of your leaves. Take the bottle again here. Let's see. Busy day digging holes and all kinds of stuff, and it's hot too, so just spray the inside of the container. Get some humidity. You don't have to spray the plants. Try and keep it off the plants. And then take you some saran wrap. Put it over the top. What I like to do is spray it, and that gives it a good humidity. Start. Put that over that. Probably gonna need two because it's a wider one. You can use anything to clone in, but you have to clone like this or you lose your clones. Spray. Spray that sucker good. There we go. Bingo. Now it's ready here. Shouldn't take long either. You can put a rubber band or string around the top of it. And how to do it, I'll probably put string around it, so that's done. I had one by early frost. That would kill a plant. Stuck it in the bucket. The good part of it came back no problem. Bucket method always works 100%. This is my favorite one. Get a little one. Took me a while to get this started, so that's it. And just go find a little dark area of the light room because it's.
But I loved that video. I loved that video, Greg. So you're going to be doing more of those on YouTube then.
Yep, I'm finally going to be putting out how I use cucumber ashes and wood ashes, the little bitty things, and then they're going to be shocked at the results, just like everyone is by the time I get done. This one's in like week 4 here, you know, flowering, and I usually take the fan leaves off earlier. I'm not afraid to strip a plant because it produces monstrous buds in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I see are now starting to strip right at flowering stage. So I just left a few on here. And at this fourth week, I, basically want to come in here and just by my hand and just pinch the tip of them off, just these bottom ones,
Mm-hmm.
because I got enough on here to sustain its nutrient needs and stuff. And that's it.
Got it.
Didn't use an X-Acto knife, just my fingers.
Yep.
But it's
That's
just,
exacto knife, as I like to say.
it's taken. I was just 2 weeks ago. It didn't have hardly any bud on it. It's just taken off. This plant's suffering
She
from
looks
rapid
great.
fast growth, which is kind of nice. It's like 32 days old, so I can't believe how monstrous the stalk size is on this. It's really nice.
That's
So,
beautiful. People can definitely learn a thing or two about what's going on
this
in the
is
Ozarks. But
yeah,
I,
yeah. This right here is started. It's basically just my started from seed. Everyone's got a little container. Like I start with about 5 inches of soil in this 15-gallon container. You don't need
mm,
much soil. That gives it a chance to spread wide. Now it's getting
oh,
ready to get moved, so I'm stressing it. I watered it up real good. Now I'm wanting it to dry up so I can just make the roots do the best of spreading, and then I'll pull it up and put it the next place it's going, which it could possibly be uh, cloning it and topping all these lower ones out, which I love doing that more than anything. I love topping them all season long. I rarely grow them out like this straight up, because I'm all
yeah,
about topping them.
yeah.
But yeah, that's
Vi-
beautiful, plants. This was Swami Organic Seeds. I got these from him, and
that is a
Hawaiian
beautiful
Haze,
plant.
really nice. I love them. Pest resistant because I'm in the Ozarks and we got a lot of bugs,
Mm-hmm. That's
doing
how.
great. So
So,
I can't wait to try it out.
so I have a question for you, Greg. Before we go into our break, I've got to hear about your best tips and tricks for drying and curing your bud because so many cultivators get it to the point where it's just so beautiful and they harvest it and then
Right.
you know it turns to mold once they start to
Yeah.
try to cure
A
and
good
dry.
way to dry and cure is to try and keep that bud alive looking as long as you can. And that's done with really cooler temperatures. There's people that are doing a cold blast of 40 degrees for 3 days with the fan blowing in every direction on high. It's supposed to help get rid of pathogens in there.
Ah, interesting. Okay, cold
So,
blast
and
have.
you can go back to your normal routine of drying it. But the longer you make it look alive for about 14 days, you should have a pretty good finish from there. But if you're dying and drying before 14 days, you're not going to get the best results. Basically,
Yeah,
that's the way to
yeah.
look at it. So, you know what's going to kill it immediately? The heat, the hotness. You got to keep that away from it. Just
Mm-hmm.
cool, dark. It loves that, and it needs aeration too. It needs good air circulation. I give it just a gentle air circulation of cold air, and it really works great.
Cold air. Got it. Got it. We've got a lot of farmers here in Texas, hemp farmers here in Texas, struggling with that. They're drying, they grow a bunch of hemp and then they don't think about where they're going to dry it and cure it. So that's been a problem. I mean, it's just so damn hot here anywhere. I
Exactly.
mean, just the whole damn state. This is like a furnace. So the cold
We've
air
had a hot
though.
year, haven't we?
Ooh, we have.
Yeah.
So where do you dry your plants and cure your plants?
I like to dry them underneath ceiling fans, so it's kind of like constantly got air just blowing all around it.
Okay.
I like to have the kind of the air above them blown down for some strange reason. I feel I've dried a lot of plants standing straight up because in the beginning, when it's trying to keep it alive, it's kind of standing up, but I want to get that air just going perfectly through it. And it's just one of the strange things I do. And that that way I'm assured that wind's going all the way around it. When
Yeah.
it's kind of hanging down, it kind of just closes up on itself. But for that initial dry, I like to just keep it standing up for a little bit. Then I'll turn them upside down.
Whoa, that is crazy.
It's
I've
like I think the
never,
most important time is to get that good airflow in the beginning.
so you're just, so they're
Get good
standing
dry.
up and,
Yeah, so
and,
you can get that good dry. And then, of
wow.
course, wait till the stem snaps before you think about putting it in jars or anything like that.
Yeah,
And there's other
great.
techniques where, you can put one bud, give it a lot of room and really sweat it out. And it could ferment actually that way, but you can't stick a bunch in at one time. You just got to try one bud at a time. So it's a lot of work to do that.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking about one bud at a time in a jar, curing in a
Yeah, that
jar.
way it's got
So that,
lots of air circulation. You're cutting the oxygen supply of it. That's how they do it with fermenting anyway. It's a little bit of cutting the oxygen off, but not too much.
got it. And then you burp the jars and do that whole
Yeah,
thing.
and then you'll see it'll look like it's sweating. You'll be like, oh my gosh, what's happening to it? You open the jar and hope it ain't ammonia, which if it is, then let it air out. But it's a
Yeah.
trick to it. And you wait too long, you got ammonia. So it's
So you're like, don't even worry about doing it that
right.
way.
I just, it's best left to the experts down in like Colombia and them countries where they know how to do it right. In Africa, they got their own way they ferment their cannabis.
Sure, every region, the tribal knowledge that just gets passed down, and here in America, we're doing it our way. And
Yeah, that's cool.
it really is just such a kindness that you're doing. I think sharing your secrets from years and years and years of growing, doing it your way, sharing it with growers all over. It's inspiring just to know that there are different techniques and there are ways that you can save your plant. And
Right.
don't believe everything you read. And if you don't have all the money for all the nutrients and fertilizers, that's okay, right?
Right. Everyone wants to brag what they're giving it right, but sometimes, like a kid, sure he likes the sweets and all the goodness and stuff, but when they grow up, maybe they're not a healthy genetic line. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I look at my plant. They get the bare minimum and it's from growing it for many, many years, 45 years, probably 10 years old. I know I was growing it and I know I was younger than that trying to grow it.
Wow, what a life. What a life. Well, so we're coming up on our first break of the night. We're gonna have a little calling all growers supporter love. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to switch gears slightly from legacy breeder Greg OG to commercial cultivation, and a commercial cultivation savant, Zach Taylor of Bountiful Farms out of Lakeville, Massachusetts. He had his commercial license cultivator grow a commercial license, excuse me, when he was 18. Sorry, this is very confusing to me. This Zach Taylor had his license at 18. So I'm looking forward to learning a little bit about commercial cultivation from Zach when we come back from our break. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. They want to see
want to take a peek?
Hi, everyone. I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young, and you're probably wondering, what am I doing on a growing show? After all, I'm a convicted plant killer. That's why I surround myself with these beautiful plastic babies. But now I have found the secret to all those people out there who just don't want to deal with growing a plant indoors or outdoors. You just don't have enough confidence. Hey, check out greengoddesssupply.com. That's where you'll find the armoire system. Basically, it's growing for dummies like me. Check it out. The armoire at greengoddesssupply.com.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it can make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems, whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that it actually will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
Welcome back to the Calling All Growers Hands-On Workshop. I'm your host, Liz Grow, and I'm joined tonight by two award-winning cultivators. My next guest is Zach Taylor. Zach leads the cultivation team at Bountiful Farms, a premium cannabis cultivator with a medical dispensary in Natick, Massachusetts, and a state-of-the-art cultivation center in Lakeville, Mass. Now, Zach is known as a pioneer and has been part of the medical cannabis industry since 2007, when he began growing cannabis as a caregiver. He was actually one of the first 18-year-olds to receive his medical license in the state of Colorado at the time. And he was one of the first 5,000 licensed employees of cannabis in the country. Zach, welcome to Calling All Growers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. I appreciate you having me. Thank you, Liz.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the first half of the show, we got to learn from the wisdom of breeder Greg OG from the legacy market in the Ozarks. I'm so excited to talk to you tonight about running a cultivation facility at scale in the commercial market.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So Calling All Growers is all about sharing information between growers, sharing real actionable information between growers. Mm-hmm. Not everybody, can, manage a commercial facility. Some people only grow one plant. But, the knowledge that you have gained from the years and years of experience that you've had in the commercial sector. I mean, I can't imagine that you haven't learned a thing or two that you'd like to share with home growers and those maybe who aspire to work at a cultivation facility as you do. So if you don't mind, I mean, you've got the floor. Talk to me about what are those tips and tricks that you're just dying to share with fellow growers out there?
Yeah, well, once again, thank you so much. I think some of the things that I've learned from an early age, so as you said, I started in the caregiver sector. So at that time, there wasn't even dispensaries. And so the caregiver model was that you provided, the medicine to those patients. And then based on the condition of those patients, you acquired a certain amount of plants for that patient. So I think really early on, it helped me just develop this passion, this love for cannabis, like we all have in our own way. But in a way that I think might be, a little bit unique, in the sense of I first fell in love with it for the relief that it provided to people. My first patient was my best friend's mom, who suffered from lupus and, a plethora of, other, ailments in which, truly impacted, her endocannabinoid system. And to just see at a young age, and I was just smoking for fun, like we all do, but
Yeah.
that was my first experience to really see. And, I am somewhat of a type A and OCD. And so I always took rigid care of the plants, but then to see what they did and the capabilities of them, really kind of helped me, dive in and take my passion on a whole nother level.
Mm.
So, it was from there that I started to serve several patients, and then was lucky enough through that at that time dispensaries kind of popped up, and as a caregiver you could sell to them. And then through one of those dispensaries, I was 21 at the time, and they finally, were able to be legal to work in the industry at that time. And so I went from, growing my, however many plants I did in my basement, to, this, it was actually an old Sealy mattress factory that was converted. It was like a couple 100,000 square feet. It was crazy. I mean, and it was a true crash course. So I went in just as the young buck, and, I think again, in terms of lessons, is listen.
Yeah.
I think it's truly important to and carry that humbleness through. I truly, even now, I don't believe in the notion of a master grower. I think we're stewards of this plant, and especially with the innovation and the technology and everything that, and when looking at the commercial sector with the KPIs and efficiencies and all these aspects, you're always learning. So I don't think you're ever a master of it. And, and then I think, kind of on that, there's no secret sauce when you start, and you really see that there's so many ways to do this and there's so many ways to be successful. You look at Greg and his sustainability, and that's truly something that I admire. And, you look at that no-till sector, and there's things that I have taken along my ways on the commercial sector and tried to apply. Um,
Yes.
and so, that's a kind of a long-winded, but so I guess going back to, my first, experience, it really, in a lot of ways, taught me what I don't want to do. In some of the larger commercial sectors, you see this plant not treated with the passion that I learned to treat it with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess, fast forwarding and being lucky enough, I met the individuals that own the company Bountiful Farms in 2017. And to, move from the place that, I was born and raised of Denver, and to truly take the risk to Massachusetts, it took that team to really allow, myself and the other individuals to put that passion forward driven cannabis. I think that premium cannabis is thrown out there a lot like, world's best coffee. You go down New York and everyone has world's best coffee.
Yeah.
There's things that you can do to actually add validity to that. And, for example, we took the slogan devoted to not add in a narcissistic or an ego driven manner, but just in terms of best practices of there are MSOs out there that are putting, fan leaf and sugar leaf into their joints.
Mm.
I think the plant should be allocated in, the A, B, and, C buds, and then thus, passed forward and, look at it as the whole buffalo approach. And so it's things like that, kind of brought me to Massachusetts and where I am now. And then I took those things of kind of learning what not to do and tried to implement those into 45,000 square foot facility that I currently help operate in Lakeville.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I imagine the learning curve was pretty massive. Or was it coming from, your basement, growing your plants as a caregiver, and then going to a commercial facility? I mean, were you able to bring the practices that you had, no pun intended, but cultivated in your basement to Bountiful when you first got there?
Um, Yes. So I think that's where, I often, I use the analogy that I think that, first and foremost, I think that everyone should grow their own cannabis. So, and the company I work for feels the same way that, we
Mm.
don't think that there should ever be a state that regulates to where only those, companies can grow their own cannabis.
Mhm.
And from that, to answer your question, the challenge is when you take those same principles and those same practices that you have done for yourself, and then you implement those across the sector, then you run into inefficiencies and KPIs. Using the
Mhm.
example of everyone can cook. Now take those same recipes and those same inefficiencies and open up a catering company and serve 50,000 people. And it's those types of things that, start to divide, but also help you go back to your roots. And one of the examples of that is I truly believe that if you've spent all of this time growing quality cannabis, why should you run it through a trimmer? That impacts every aspect of it down the line, from the concentrates to the byproduct to the actual flower itself.
Mhm.
From more of a scientific perspective, you're truly trapping in all of those chloroplasts and all of those chlorophylls that you allow to dissipate at a natural rate through the low and slow hang that you hear often growers talking about.
Mhm.
So I think it's a hybridization to try to find that craft.
Right.
Having said that, last year we, harvested over 1 million plants. This year we're going to harvest close to 2 million. We can't hand feed those plants. So
Right.
that's where the evolution, and data driven, and looking at decisions and truly looking at them with the scientific method, because there
Mhm.
is so many ways to do this. And we love to be collective as growers and say, hey, I do this and I do this. But if you have 5 variables out there, next thing you know, you have no way to replicate that. And so consistency
Right.
is another key. And so, those are some of the, dividing factors. But again, going back to what I learned from, the early days, is it goes back to the attention to detail, and it goes
Mhm.
back into sometimes the old school way, so to speak, is the right way. And it's finding ways to then implement those into the commercial sector. So another example of that is we are not fully organic. We are a pesticide free facility. Um,
Mhm.
but in terms of our nutrients, we do use synthetic nutrients, but we also use a combination. Some call it, kind of a synganics, I think is a terminology, but a company that we use is fish shit. And what they do is
Yeah.
they feed their own fish a proprietary blend of organic compounds, and then it produces, a plethora of, different beneficial bacterias, and which are beneficial to the plants. And then it's all OMRI listed and everything. And
Mhm.
then it's just, bottled in a manner in which, unlike, some other organics in which it's, kind of timed, you're able to kind of pulse feed it. And so it works for our hydroponic system. So it's a
Mm.
blend of taking the old school methods and new school methods and trying to find that hybridization to put the best product forward.
Right, right, absolutely. And I feel like, and you could certainly speak to this as well, being in the industry, but it would seem like there's such a rush to profit that that research and that care and time that's taken to make the decisions about how you are growing, it doesn't seem like that happens as much. Would you find that, or what's your opinion?
There, I've always tried to take the mentality and
Dang it. Uh, how's it going, everyone? Yes, I believe we did too. Dang it. Okay, great. We're still live.
I forgot to talk about
Yeah,
urea in the Miracle Grow and
yeah,
copper sulfate dangers. If you guys need to, if you can't get them.
let's talk about it. Let's keep the conversation going. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to mention when you're using your fertilizers, since you brought up the synthetics, that stay away from the urea products and the copper sulfate, because they're linked to esophagus, mouth, stomach problems, cancer possibly. So
Ooh.
you want to remove that and look for the products that don't have that in it. So if you're using it, go ahead and switch immediately.
And you're talking about, so Miracle Grow specifically
Yeah,
is one
Miracle
of,
Grow, the green does have it, but their organic blend, I don't think it has it in there.
got it, got
So
it.
if you're using that, you're probably a lot safer than using the green, you know.
Yeah. Well,
That's why they're manufacturing, but there's money to be made off poison. That's why they keep, but we're gonna have to stand up to this eventually
yes, we
and shut it
are.
down, just like the urea and the peat. We've got a list. We're building it, so we've got a duty to protect the planet. That's, number one.
Absolutely.
God
Absolutely.
said, God put us here to take care of it. That's the only thing he required us to do. So
Mm,
that's a
we're
big
not
part of it.
right. And I feel like it could be easy for cannabis brands, well, cannabis brands who want to be transparent and, work, serve the consumer and serve the plant. I feel like it would be easy for them to put their growing practices and certainly not give away the secret sauce, but yeah, give away the secret sauce. Let us know how you're
Right.
growing, what we're consuming. Give me a list.
Yeah,
Is
put
there
it
any
on the
organization?
box. Yeah, that would, it's becoming all too common for us to find out the hard way, and it's time to quit feeding us the poison and do something about it. And it is the big corporations that are doing it. Somewhere down the line, somebody's selling them that urea is so cheap, and they see that profit sign, and you know who gets it in the end? The consumers.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, I mean, this information is just it's critical. And especially when, we're working to reach growers of all levels. I mean, those growers that are just starting out may not even think about that. Hey, I want to put this fertilizer on my plant. It's going to make my plant grow. I'm going to have big buds. Boom. But it's like we're consuming that. You're
It's like
consuming
they
everything you
talk
put.
about the salts in Miracle Grow, but they don't want to talk about the urea that's really causing the problem. So
Right.
it's kind of like, look over here at salts and debate that issue so we can keep you away from the urea issue. So that's a mad game. And these big corporations need to step up and stand up to the ones that are selling this stuff at a cheap price, putting it in our products. It's not doing any good for anybody. So, and I look
No.
at them, they're the ones in control of everything. So they need to start leading. They want to take control of everything, but I don't see no leadership skills coming out of it. All I see
Right.
is more of the same practices happening over and over again.
Well, we as consumers have to be, I think, more vigilant about, who's running the companies that we're spending our money with, right? It's like, I'm giving you my money and I want to know what is going into my bud. I want to know how the employees are treated. I want to know a lot of things about the company. That's just part of, I think, being an informed consumer. But, for something tells me that cannabis consumers are a little bit more, I think, tapped in, to that. Just, I don't know. I'm
It's
biased.
a big community of help. No matter how many years you
Yes.
grow, you always need help from one another because it's just the way it is. New
Yeah.
strains come and things just change the way you grow too. Also, you find out what you were doing was wrong, so you want to change that as fast as you can.
Right.
So it's a lot to learn when you're not growing in the soil. That's why, number one, just work towards growing in your regular soil you got. Just fluff it up. Worm manure, that's all it needs. A little bit of nutrients. Back to the roots says feed it once a month. That sounds good to me. And that's the way I do it here.
So, and that's it. And you also, you don't have to throw your soil out when you're done, when you've harvested the plant, because you haven't put anything in the soil that would, compromise it for the
Exactly.
next.
I don't know what to do with this toxin after I've made the poor decision to purchase it. Now where do I take it? I feel like sending it to another planet. It's so toxic, but so I just feel really guilty. I got it, and I hope that that changes. That we can go plant in the soil more containers. And this is getting ridiculous. They say a lot of the soil is just recycled landfill garbage. And they're spicing it up with something that boosts the root growth.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but
Rough.
there's just so many things to think about, and as growers, you get excited on the end result. You start with those
The
big buds
soil
in mind.
trust worm manure. It'll do everything you need for it.
Right. Now, what do you think about, no-till techniques and, more regenerative farming techniques? Have you ever played around with those?
Yeah, I've got a couple friends that are really big into that, and I agree with them. If you can do winter crops and make it a lot easier than having to constantly put in your worm manure, that's the next level to take it to. Yeah, that lots of things you can plant over the winter, and a lot of crops that you can use to plant to bring in nitrogen. If it's lacking it in your soil, we'll go get some pinto beans and stuff and just start planting them. As they sprout up, they'll deliver nitrogen to the soil. They're like atmospheric plants, that. So there's benefits to plants doing the job that they got you with your shopping cart, going down aisles trying to find the perfect thing, and it's already here. It's all in nature.
Yeah.
And they'll learn that. I'm not judging the people that are using it. They'll learn the better ways. I'm just asking them to learn it now before it's too late. For we're all accused of poisoning the planet, and then we're the next enemy.
Now, are you planning? So I know you're planning on doing more tutorial videos on your YouTube. Are you planning on doing any sort of, conversations, about your philosophy and, sharing knowledge that way?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I didn't want to get out on TV. I never do. Every time I get involved in something social media, I'm like on TV next, so that's kind of cool though. I'm glad you brought me on the show. I'm planning on creating strains, working in the industry, probably with college, universities, eventually, hopefully, the whole 9 yards, get all the way involved in it, get the legal aspect, and I want to eventually all the United States dispensaries buy seeds from me exclusively. So that's a goal, get
Love
licensed.
that.
I'll be your source. Let's, and we'll learn together. We'll learn how you develop better seed genetics, rarities, do things right, and make sure that the customers are getting the best product they can get for their money, and hopefully bring the cost down. It's way too high. It just is way too high. They offer
Absolutely.
no big bulk deals, I've noticed, back in the day. Well, I can't afford that $5 joint, but if you sell me a whole bunch of that stuff there at a lower cost, that way it does better for the consumer. So we want them to have a product that lasts long, and it ain't all about making the money. It's all about us enjoying life on a higher level.
That's right.
Money kind of doesn't help that much, it helps a little.
Right, right. So how much do you think an ounce should cost in
About $40.
about $40?
Yeah, that's about fair. That inspires you to go work and get it.
Yeah.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of people should, I don't like the business of really of selling extracts and oils in the public. It's just, I don't know. It's new. People may love it. I think it's hurting them. I think it hurts the youth, that they should be finding a joint to do everything they need to do. That's all you need, a good joint, some
Yeah.
hash. They're
Yeah,
taking it
right.
to a level it's not good.
Yeah, a
But
lot of
people are always going to test the boundary, even if it's like CERN trying to open up space and go somewhere else. So ain't much we can do with it. Science will always test the boundaries.
That's right. That's right. I mean, that's kind of what we do, right? We're
So
it's
whether I
humankind.
like it, yeah, whether I like it or not, I'm just going to sit back and let it flow, and see what happens.
That's right. Well, it seems to be working for you, my friend. It's definitely seems to be working for you. And hopefully some, other cultivators will catch that vibe as well, not be so stressed out about it, not be so, not make things so complicated or overcomplicate things with, different, the nutrient du jour, or, different kind of grow science that they've learned about through the grapevine. I'm so bummed that Zach dropped off, unfortunately, obviously technical difficulties, because I really loved the scientific methods that he was kind of referring to. I mean, it was a really great conversation.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was
he's
really
used.
enjoying it. He was really teaching me something. So too bad we lost him.
I know, I know. Well, we'll have to invite him back on. This is what it's all about. It's just having the conversation is ongoing. Letting people know, letting growers know that there are expert growers who want to help with all of your growing questions, and you can
Right. And when
find
you're
them.
spending all that money, you know,
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to prevent. So you're not frustrated. You're out all your money, and you've got nothing but droopy, sickly plants, So that's part of the reason you're overspending on them, in my
Right. Right. They look droopy and sickly, so they must need more.
right.
Well, that's not necessarily the case, but you know what? Until someone like you comes along to bring this knowledge, but also shows techniques, I think that's when it really kind of gels for a lot of people, myself included. I'm a visual learner. Like I need to see it. So hopefully you've inspired a number of growers tonight to do their best with a lot fewer resources.
Right.
So guys, that is all the time we have tonight for our workshop. So unfortunately, we have to say goodbye, but be sure to tune in to the July 13th live show at 8 p.m. Eastern time, when I will have Matt Haddad from Trilogene Seeds and Texas hemp farmer Dusty Doty to have a lively conversation about the importance of picking the proper hemp genetics for your region. And then, of course, sharing other invaluable tips from experts in the game. I want to just give special thanks to you, Breeder Greg OG, for coming through again, second week in a row. Thank you so much for coming back.
You're welcome, Liz. I enjoy coming on here.
Really
I
appreciate
what you're doing for us out there. And you got my word out there that how we can do it without ruining the environment at the same time. So I hope more people contact me to learn more about this. And the more we teach, the more they can grow better.
That's absolutely right. Now, where can people find you again?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll be on there for a little bit until they take me out as usual for something I say. Twitter probably will keep me there longer. So I suggest finding me on Twitter, Breeder OG Greg at Twitter, and also Breeder OG Greg at gmail.com. You can get a hold of me there.
Awesome.
That's either way to get a hold of me.
Breeder OG Greg. And I call you Breeder Greg OG because you are the OG.
Fine. Either way, either one works, I started out as Greg OG, kind of people in the business, they've always swung the names around here and there.
I love it. I love it. You're a man of many names, and one very sure, not just one talent, but one talent in particular that makes you a very, very important person in my eyes, in the eyes of very many, are your cultivation skills. So thanks again for being so generous with your knowledge. I also wanted to thank Zach Taylor of Bountiful Farms. We're so grateful. We were grateful to have you even for 15 minutes, buddy. We want to invite you back on because I know that we have so much to learn from you and knowledge to share. And we really appreciated that, scientific and data-driven approach. So I want to hear more from you on this show. Calling All Growers is produced by Pro Cannabis Media with help from Grow House Media and generous support from our sponsors. I'll see you at our live show in 2 weeks on July the 13th with Matt Haddad and Dusty Doty to talk about hemp. Until then, my name is Liz Grow and I'm calling all growers. See you next time.
Hi, everyone. I'm PCM founder Jimmy Young, and you're probably wondering, what am I doing on a growing show? After all, I'm a convicted plant killer. That's why I surround myself with these beautiful plastic babies. But now I have found the secret to all those people out there who just don't want to deal with growing a plant indoors or outdoors. You just don't have enough confidence. Hey, check out greengoddesssupply.com. That's where you'll find the Armoire system. Basically, it's growing for dummies like me. Check it out. The Armoire at greengoddesssupply.com. Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.